Now look at Part C. Part C. In this part of the test, you'll hear two different extracts. In each extract, you'll hear health professionals talking about aspects of their work. For questions 31 to 42, choose the answer A, B or C, which fits best according to what you hear. Complete your answers as you listen. Now look at Extract 1. Extract 1, questions 31 to 36.
You hear the Director of Clinical Epidemiological Center, called Ziad Ali, giving a presentation about COVID-19 and heart.
You now have 90 seconds to read questions 31 to 36.
So today we want to talk about COVID and the heart. So we've known for a while that people with COVID can develop heart issues like clots and inflammation and arrhythmia. You just published a new study that says that in some people, these symptoms can persist for a year or more. So what does this mean and what did you study?
So we've known for a while that COVID-19 in the acute phase, in the first 30 days, especially in people who really need to be admitted to the hospital, who had severe disease and need to be admitted to the hospital or need to be in the ICU, they may develop complications, and some of them could be heart complications. But what we didn't really know is that what happened to people's heart in the long term, what happens to people's heart, 6 months out and even a year out. And most importantly, what happens to people who had mild disease and did not need to be hospitalized, did not need to go into the hospital, and did not need ICU care. So we did this study to, evaluate the long-term risk, so to speak, the one-year risk of heart problems in people who got COVID-19 compared to nearly 11 million controls of people who did not get COVID-19. And then use sort of statistical methods to balance the arms, or you can think of it like even the playing field, so that the only difference is that the people assigned to the COVID-19 arm were actually had COVID-19, and the people who are in the control, had similar characteristics, but absolutely no COVID-19, and evaluated them for about a year to determine what's the risk of heart problems from COVID-19 itself.
Mm-hmm. And what did you find?
So the major findings were that people with COVID-19 have a higher risk of all sorts of heart problems at 1 year, and that included arrhythmias of the heart, sort of like irregular heartbeats. The heart could be beating too fast or too slow. Something called atrial fibrillation, which is really a fast heart rhythm, so like in a particular pattern. We found evidence of increased risk of strokes, increased risk of blood clots in the legs, something we call DVT, that's blood clots in the legs, increased risk of blood clots in the lungs, increased risk of heart failure and heart attacks. So it's really increased risk of a broad spectrum of heart problems, ranging from how the heart beats and whether it beats too fast or too slow, or irregular heartbeats, to blood clots, to myocardial infarction or heart attacks, to heart failure. And the risk was evident. I went into it thinking that the risk was going to be most pronounced, or really most evident, in people who maybe smoked a lot, had diabetes or heart disease to start with, or had kidney disease, or had some risk factors. But what we really found is that even in people who did not have any heart problems to start with, zero heart problems to start with, were athletic, did not have a high BMI, or did not have obesity, did not smoke, did not have any kidney disease, did not have diabetes, even in those people who were really previously healthy and had no risk factors or no problems with the heart, even in those people that had COVID-19 affected them in such a way that they actually had manifested a higher risk of heart problems than people who did not get COVID-19.
It's remarkable.
Yes, and I think what's sort of also really eye-opening here that the risk was also evident even in people who did not have severe COVID-19 that necessitated hospitalization or ICU care, meaning that the people who got COVID-19 and maybe were asymptomatic or maybe got COVID-19 that was so mild that they were able to nurse it at home and take care of it at home and did not need to go to the doctor for it, did not need to go to the hospital for it, did not need to be admitted or taken care of in the ICU for it. Even in those people who had mild and sometimes asymptomatic or without symptoms COVID-19, they actually went on to still develop an increased risk of heart problems even a year out.
So what's going on in the body, do we think?
So we think there's a lot of different things that could be happening. It's possible that the virus itself and the immune reaction to it or immune response to it sort of result in a intense inflammation that and subsequently hits the heart and results in some of the manifestations that we're seeing here. It's possible that COVID-19 may attack, and there's actually quite a bit of evidence so far, may attack the lining of the vessels, something called endothelial cells, sort of are the cells that line the vessels of the heart and other vessels. And when I attack them, it makes them sort of sick, and some of them might die and eventually sort of facilitate the forming of blood clots and forming of blockages of the arteries of the heart or the vessels of the heart. There are several other mechanisms that revolve around something called the ACE receptor. And now the ACE receptor is really important because the virus has something called the spike protein. And the spike protein, you can think of it as in a way as almost like the key that engages the locks. Is called the ACE receptor, and it kind of like is able to facilitate. Once it engages that receptor, it then may facilitate entry of the virus into cells, including heart cells. So you can think of it as almost like the virus, luck would have it, that the virus has the keys to the human cells. And it turns out that the ACE receptor is evident or is present on a lot of cell types, including heart cells. So there are a lot of mechanisms that might explain why this is really happening in people's heart. Why would SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes...
Now look at Extract 2. Extract 2, questions 37 to 42.
You hear the Associate Professor Michael Woodward, who is the Director of Memory Clinic at the Austin Hospital in Melbourne, giving an interview about mild cognitive impairment.
You now have 90 seconds to read questions 37 to 42.
Hello, my name...
How do you know if those memory lapses are just part of slowing down, a cognitive decline? Or are they the early signs of dementia and Alzheimer's disease in particular? The condition is called mild cognitive impairment, or MCI. About 7 or 8% of people in their 60s have MCI, rising to 1 in 4 people in their 80s. So as more people hit their 9th and 10th decades, the numbers with mild cognitive impairment will rise too. But not all are destined to develop Alzheimer's disease. The pressure on the healthcare system is going to be enormous, which is why a group of experts have come together with recommendations about detecting, assessing and looking after people with MCI. One of the authors is Associate Professor Michael Woodward, who's Director of the Memory Clinic at the Austin Hospital in Melbourne. Welcome to the Health Report, Michael.
Greetings, Norman and Tegan.
What are the symptoms of MCI that might cause concern and tell you that it's MCI rather than just cognitive decline?
It's significant memory problems, repeatedly forgetting what we've been told or what we're planning to do, repeatedly forgetting where we've left things, leaving items on or open, repeating ourselves. These are more significant than just occasionally leaving your keys somewhere and forgetting where they are. Is
MCI early Alzheimer's?
In many people, it will become Alzheimer's disease in the dementia stage. About 10% of people with mild cognitive impairment move on to the dementia stage of their illness every year, and about 60% of those is Alzheimer's disease. So many people will already have Alzheimer's pathology, but not yet in the dementia stage.
But how many people with MCI will go on to have nothing?
Around about 20 or 30% will not ever develop any significant, more significant cognitive disorder. But MCI itself is a diagnosis. It's not nothing. It's a significant problem, and we do need to accurately diagnose it, to know how to manage it, and particularly for general practitioners to better recognise and further assess it.
Now, we're not going to get through all 60 of your recommendations, but let's start with the tests, and you do recommend scans.
Yes, it's good for most people to have at least one form of brain scan. CAT scans don't cut the mustard. We need something a bit more accurate. An MRI can be helpful, but as of the 1st of November, we can now get what's called an FDG PET scan covered on Medicare, and that's very helpful in working out if there's underlying Alzheimer's or other pathology causing the MCI.
Because it shows the abnormal proteins in the brain.
It shows the effects of those proteins. It dampens down metabolism, so we see under-metabolism in the regions of the brain, and those regions give us the diagnosis. If it's what we call the default mode network, then it's likely to be Alzheimer's disease.
When is it important for a GP to refer?
Yeah, GPs should refer when they have a patient who is quite concerned about their memory, and when they do a basic screening test that shows, yes, there's something going on there. The test we recommend is called the MOCA, but there are other tests that can be equally useful.
Now, you do talk about mitigation and the sort of things that the GP could work with the person on, such as medications, lifestyle, air pollution, heart disease and so on. Just give us a quick sense of what you can do to reduce the effects of MCI or reduce its progression.
So we should all be living our life as if we're going to have or might have mild cognitive impairment, because there is such a high risk, as you said at the beginning. And that means we should make sure we're getting enough exercise, 40 minutes of exercise 5 times a week, a bit of huffing and puffing, not just a gentle stroll. We should eat a Mediterranean-type diet, plenty of green leafy vegetables and fish, and not too much fat, not too much sweets. We should make sure we keep our brains stimulated, do something every day for about 30 minutes. It might be Wordles or Sudokus or playing chess online, and also keep our social networks active. Make sure we don't withdraw from our friends, our family and our community, and also treat depression and treat deafness.
And you talked about air pollution.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's shown up consistently as a risk factor for mild cognitive impairment and for dementia. Now, we can't easily move our home, but we can do certain things to reduce the risk of being exposed to air pollution.
And deafness is about social isolation.
Well, it seems to be deafness is because we're not getting the stimulation of our brain. It's not just that we're not hearing and therefore, having trouble understanding what's being said. Our brain is not being stimulated by noise. We see the same problem in people who are blind. They develop a range of cognitive and psychiatric syndromes sometimes.
That is the end of Part C. You now have 2 minutes to check your answers.
All right, so how did you guys find out the question paper? Was it easy or really difficult?
Really difficult.
Yes. Okay, let me start with one by one. Okay, Anju, what did you feel about the question paper? Was it really difficult?
C1 is difficulty for me. C2 is okay.
Okay, all right. And what about Anjali?
Yes, sir. C1, I didn't get the answer of 34 also.
Okay, Ujjwala, what do you think about the question paper?
Mixed. I have a mixed feeling, like some of the question I could answer, some could not.
Okay, let's check the answers anyway. And what about Maninder? What is your feedback regarding the difficulty level of this question paper?
It is very difficult for me to understand the
Okay.
questions.
Soumya, what is your feedback regarding the difficulty level of this question paper?
Yeah, for me also it's very difficult.
Okay,
Even I
now,
have
yeah, sorry.
classes.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, that's all right. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. So what we are going to do further is to go through the answers, and then you need to put a tick mark against the correct choices. Okay, according to the answers I'm going to show up, and then cross mark against the incorrect ones, and then we will discuss everything in detail. All right. Okay, let's start with the answers now. These are the answers. For question number 31, the answer is B. And for question number 32, the answer is C. Question number 33 has got A. Question number 34 is B. Question number 35 is B as well. And question number 36 is C.
However, I got this 5
Okay,
out of
let's discuss. Yeah, let's discuss, okay, in detail after that. But, put a tick mark, all right, and let's go through the next one. 37 is B, 38 is C, 39 is A, 40 is C, 41 is C as well, 42 is A. All right, let me check with everyone now, and then we will go through, the discussion regarding the correct answers as well as the incorrect answers, one by one, okay? We will also play the audio file as well as we'll go through the reasons why your answer was incorrect for a particular question, okay? So that will be more helpful for you. But firstly, I just would like to check with everyone on how much they have got. Anjali, can you please tell me how many answers were correct out of 12?
Yes, sir. For the C1, I got only 3, and the C2, I got 4.
So 3 plus 4,
7
7. Yeah, it's not that
Yes,
bad.
sir.
Okay, 8 is the minimum score I require every student to achieve. But you have got close to that, which is really good. I'm very happy with that. Anju, how many answers did you get correctly?
Sir, in C1 I got 4 and C2 also I got 4. Total
4.
8.
Okay, yeah, 4 plus 4. That's amazing. Good. I'm very
Yes.
happy with that. That's the minimum score I request, okay, my students to achieve. That's great. And
But
what about
for
Ujjwala?
sir,
Yes.
In C2 I'm already I know about that. But C1 I guessed something. That's right. That's
Yeah,
the reason I got.
we'll go through that.
It is not.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. We'll go through that in a minute. Ujjwala, how many answers are correct?
No, I have first C1 3 and the
Okay.
C2 3.
Okay, 3 plus 3, 6 out of 12. It is not that great, but it's not that bad as well. It's better to get at least 8 out of 12 to be on the safe side.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
Maninder, how many answers are correct, Maninder, for you?
So total 6, 3 in first part and 3 in second
Yeah,
part.
it's not that bad. It's all right. And Soumya, how many answers are correct?
Mine in first part 5 out of 6.
Amazing.
6.
Sorry, how much did you get in the second one?
4.
4. Wow, that's amazing. Here you go. You are the winner today.